Okay, it's time to have some fun with the Kirk haters. One of my favorite pastimes and most frequently done things. Because bad times for the Kirk haters, for the Kirk Cousins syndrome people. Because there's reports out there, I think they both came out today, uh, from national guys that Kevin O'Connell in the interviews with the Vikings was very I'm not sure what the word would be, very positive about Kirk Cousins, that he, sounds like he definitely he definitely does want to work with Kirk Cousins. And also that there's also a report that they will be trying to work out an extension, which has long been talked about, because the Kirk haters, they can't stop bringing up the $45 million cap hit for 2022, and we have to keep reminding them over and over and over that from the moment that he signed that extension 2 seasons ago, or 2 off seasons ago, and that number was out there, that 45. There was never a situation where he was going to play the 2022 season for the Vikings with that cap hit. That was understood the moment that was signed. It was either going to be, at that point, there's 3 options. You cut him, but then you eat all that dead money. You trade him, or you extend him again. And sorry, haters, the signs are very strongly pointing towards an extension. Now, I don't know what level of extension that would be. Now, we'll preface this by saying that these things coming out there, the narrative that the Kirk haters are putting out there is, this is just stuff that's being put out there to try to pump up Kirk's trade value. Maybe. I mean, you're not going to, the ones that everyone always points to with from the Spielman era are Percy Harvin and Stephon Diggs, where he came out in both cases and said, we're definitely not trading him. We're definitely not trading these guys. And then, of course, they traded him. So, like, front offices will lie, but but this is a similar situation in that those other players, they would never have traded those guys. Their plan was not to trade them. They would have kept them if they didn't get really good offers. And maybe somebody will blow the Vikings away with an offer for Kirk. It's possible. I'm a hardcore Kirk defender. I'm a Kirk crusader, a Cousins crusader, a Kirk stan, whatever other derogatory term these dipshits come up with. But I would trade him if there's two scenarios where I would trade him, and both of these conditions would have to be met for me. I don't have any say in it, but one is there has to be a real plan for what you do with the quarterback position if you trade Kirk. The Kirk haters, many of them, think the plan is just go draft a quarterback and that's it. Well, what if that quarterback fails? As most first-round quarterbacks do. And you're not getting anybody in the top 5 or anything, and you're not tanking either. Even if they offer O'Connell money, he ain't going to tank. So that's not a plan. And you hear people talking about, we'll sign some, a bridge quarterback while we work out, whatever draft pick, or maybe Kellen Mond. Well, that's not a plan. I mean, that's putting you in the tank, because who are you going to get? There's no good quarterbacks that are going to be out there as free agents. No one really. I mean, what are you going to go get Jameis Winston? I mean, I suppose you could throw him out there, but he ain't anywhere near as good as Kirk. So, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face, basically. So there would have to be a real plan at the quarterback position, and not just, hey, we're going to just start chasing the lottery ticket, rookie quarterback, because most of those guys are not going to work out. And if you just devote your entire franchise to just that, boy, you're going to end up being a really bad franchise for a long time, and it's going to screw over Kevin O'Connell. And guess what? No one's going to care that he's a first-time head coach and that they did this, and that they hitched the wagon to some random rookie quarterback. If that quarterback fails, guess what? Kevin O'Connell's out of here in 2 or 3 years. He just is. But the second condition would be, if they trade him, they better get a fucking haul. And I'm not talking about, the Kirk haters. Most of them, they just want him gone. They just want Kirk Cousins gone. They don't care about anything else. They just want him gone. They don't care if we get anything good for him. They don't care if the quarterback we get after him is any good. They just hate Kirk Cousins and want him gone. So they'd be fine just getting rid of him for anything. Not me. Not me. If they trade him, they better get a fucking haul. And I don't mean like, we'll get like a 3rd round pick and cap space. No, that ain't enough. That's just not enough. What's that going to do for you other than greatly weaken your team? This obsession over the fucking cap hit and cap space, like you extend him, he's gonna have a lower cap hit anyway. I suppose that would be maybe the one scenario where it would be okay to just dump Kirk, is if he's completely unwilling to do any sort of extension, lowering his cap number, all this thing. Like, it doesn't even have to be like, he takes like, a 50% pay cut or something like that. Like, these people aren't going to accept that. The Kirk haters pretend like the $45 million thing is the thing that pisses off. No, they fucking hated this guy the moment he was signed. They hated him. They've hated him every step of the way. They've never cared about anything else but the fact that they just hate this guy. And like, these people are watching the Pro Bowl the other day, which was an amusing thing to watch, and it's like, and they're ripping Kirk for stuff going on in the Pro Bowl. These people are just, they're not mentally there. They're just not. They're insane. They're insane. They suffer from Kirk Cousins derangement syndrome. They look for every possible opportunity to trash this guy, and have for 4 years, and they will continue to do it. And I'm delighted that they're in agony today with the reports out that point towards Kirk sticking around. I just love it. I love that these people will be in misery if that happens, because they deserve to be in misery because they're shit. And I love seeing it. I love seeing these people suffer. And these people just, they never let up. They'll never let up. They never have. They thought this is going to be even more like painful for them, because so many of them had it just, they were so certain that the moment they got rid of Rick Spielman and Zimmer, even though obviously a lot of the reports out are that Zimmer just really was never on board with Cousins, but the fact that they got rid of these guys, like, that means they're finally going to get rid of Kirk Cousins. Yay! Not necessarily. Could happen. But again, they're going to have to get blown away with an offer. They're not going to just dump this guy. This isn't going to be some salary dump where they just because who's going to really do that anyway? There's a quarterback pecking order, and there's going to be some guys out there who are available. Aaron Rodgers might be available. Russell Wilson might be available. I don't know what's going on with Deshaun Watson. Maybe he's available. But I wouldn't go for Watson over Kirk. Not with the stuff been going on with him. So there is a pecking order, but a lot of teams are going to be out there, in the quarterback market. I don't know, what are half the teams maybe pretty much set with what they want to do at quarterback? So you got maybe almost half the league, which of course makes it all the more insane because we've got one of the good ones. I don't give a shit where you want to rank him. We've got one of the good ones, and we want to just run him out of town, and then just play the lottery. Like yeah, okay. You got the Bengals in the Super Bowl with Joe Burrow. Well, guess what? We're not going to get the number 1 pick, so it's like by every report, the draft class this year for quarterbacks is not good. It's not like this is one of those years where there's like 5 guys who are going to go in the first round and they're all really promising. Like there could be there could be good ones, but again, the Kirk haters who just want him out of here and want to play lottery at quarterback for potentially decades, they just assume that you're going to just automatically get the right guy. It's hard to get the right guy. It's really hard. These brain dead idiots, they think it's so easy to get a quarterback. It's just not. And there's so many different ways to get quarterbacks and to win with quarterbacks. If the Rams win the Super Bowl this weekend, that's going to be 4 out of the last 7 Super Bowls won by a quarterback who was obtained either in free agency or in a trade. So obviously you don't absolutely need to draft somebody, and you don't need to draft them at the top of the draft. You can get guys all over the place. There's so many different ways. Just like there's so many different ways to build rosters, there's so many different ways to get quarterbacks. And most of the time, the quarterbacks don't turn out to even be as good as Kirk Cousins. And I hate this fucking idea that we're finally going to get after. And look, I was a Zimmer defender for years. I'm turned off big time by some of the stuff you hear about. The stuff with him and Cousins and how that relationship was never a relationship. Like it just it's oil and water. This is never going to work. And the fact that Kirk performed to the level he has in the last 4 years, even with a head coach who didn't want him and seemingly actively sabotages that side of the ball, and all the turnover coordinators and issues with the line and everything, and the fact he performed as well as he did, and now we're getting a guy we don't know for sure yet if O'Connell can really coach as a head coach, but there's no fucking way he's going to be worse for the the overall offense and scheme and everything, and for Kirk, there's no way he's going to be worse for that whole side of the ball than Zimmer was. And we're not even going to see what these people don't even want to see what can happen with a real offensive coach and one of the top third of the league in quarterbacks at least, who's still got prime years left, who's played his fucking ass off for 2 years only to have crappy defenses ruin it for him. I mean that would go down as one of the all-time what ifs. God, if only we had kept Kirk around for our new hotshot young offensive coach. No, we got to get rid of him because we got to go play the lottery at quarterback. If there's a plan, if there's an actual plan for moving beyond Kirk Cousins this year, maybe they got one. And maybe they do. Maybe they're open for a trade. But again, I guarantee, I think it was one of the first videos I ever did. I made a rock solid prediction that Stephon Diggs was never going to be traded, and I was wrong, but I've learned my lesson, and I'm not saying never with a Kirk trade, but they are going to have to be blown away with a trade offer. They're not going to just trade him for scraps or whatever some team is willing to give him. No, they are in a bargaining position. If someone wants Kirk Cousins, and there are teams that are going to want Kirk Cousins if he's available or even if he's not. and everyone's available. I mean, everyone's available for the right price. There's probably only a couple guys on the Vikings who are completely untouchable. Jefferson, I would say probably Brian O'Neill. Who else? That's about it. Anybody can be had for the right price, but the right price for Kirk is going to be, it's not saying it has to be the Stafford deal. I forget what exactly the Stafford deal was. I think there was multiple firsts in there, and of course they got a quarterback too in that trade. But if I'm Kwesi, you got to wow me. You got to really wow me to part with Kirk Cousins, especially when you've got a coach, who's got a little bit of experience working with Kirk, who's pro Kirk, based on the reports today. He wants to get his. That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. Late in the season, and as the coaching search was starting, this is a destination type of job because, offensive guys, and now we got one, have got to be salivating over the idea of getting their hands on the offensive personnel that we have on this team. That's another thing. We're still gonna have this offensive personnel. We're still gonna have Jefferson and Thielen and Osborne and Irv Smith coming back, and young offensive line with at least a couple of pieces that work, and Dalvin, and and we're gonna screw them all over to just play the lottery with a quarterback. We've never gotten to see Kirk Cousins in an offensive-led system with this team. He had an offensive head coach in Washington, but he's also got better personnel, I think, to work with here. And we're not even gonna fucking try. These people hate Kirk Cousins so much that they don't even want to try it out. And they say it's for the cap hit. It ain't for the fucking cap hit. They don't give a shit about the cap hit. The cap hit is just their excuse for their Kirk hate, because they know $45 million cap hit is that's just an irrelevant number. It's never going to be that. It's not. It's either, if he's with the Vikings next year, he's not playing at $45 million. They're not gonna go on a lame duck year for Kirk Cousins. That one I can feel very secure in saying they're not going to do a lame duck Kirk Cousins year. But it won't matter. It doesn't matter. He could take the veteran minimum, and these same people, these same assholes, the Kirk Cousins derangement syndrome crowd, they would still rip the guy just as much, because it's not about the money. They just fucking hate the guy. They just hate him. They don't like him. They make up narratives that just are not true. It's just one thing after another. But they are very upset today, and I'm very happy that they are upset today with these reports out that are pointing towards Kirk being back in 2022. And I trust in Kwesi. I think he's a sharp guy. He knows what he's doing. I have no reason not to trust Kevin O'Connell to this point. We won't start knowing until September what his, how his game management is. But I think he'll be able to work really well with Kirk. I think it'll rejuvenate Kirk to just have a coach that doesn't hate him and actually wants him to succeed. It seems like it's something that's very, very simple. A very simple concept to have your head coach wanting your starting quarterback to succeed, but apparently it isn't that simple because we didn't have that. So Kirk haters, enjoy the suffering. We won't know for sure. We won't know with any finality on any of this stuff for a while. Technically they could have trades already, but more than likely it's going to be probably weeks after the Super Bowl here before anything really gets going on anything like that. And there will be rumors. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of rumors about. There's already been some rumors about teams that would maybe be interested in Kirk. And there will be teams interested in Kirk, and teams will make offers. I have no doubt that there will be teams that make offers for Kirk Cousins, but will they make a good enough offer to make it worth it? Because this could be a really self-destructive move to trade him without a plan. And I would try, if they were to decide to trade Kirk, I would trust Kwesi and O'Connell in the front office. I would trust that they have an actual plan, not just get rid of him and go play the lottery at quarterback for 20 years and hope you hit on somebody. As certain people out there insist that that's the only way you can do it. It's not the only way you can do it, and it's kind of proof in the Super Bowl right now that you don't have to do it that way. But whatever. I would trust that they would doing something that they think will work, and that they're doing it for the right reasons, not just we hate Kirk Cousins, we don't like his personality, we don't like his politics. I don't like his politics either, but I'm able to separate those two things. I'm able to separate the politics and the player on the field, and a lot of people can't. So we'll see what happens. Guess we're not much happening else right now. There's going to be probably early next week, the intro press conference and everything with O'Connell, and then maybe we'll start to get some ideas what's going on. I know, and then once we hit March, then things are really gonna heat up, because then you've got roster bonuses. You got that big roster bonus for Danielle Hunter that's got to be addressed, and then free agency and all sorts of crazy stuff will be happening, and we won't be able to predict it this year because it's a whole new group of people making decisions. But I think I would say 90% that Kirk is here, and that's gone up just from when they hired O'Connell. I thought that actually made the odds greater that they would trade Kirk. But I think it's still. I'm going back on that a little bit. I think the odds that Kirk is here in 2022 are much stronger now, because O'Connell gets it. He wants first chance as a head coach. He wants to come in and have a shot, and he understands, because he actually understands football, unlike most of these bloggers and media wonks, that Kirk Cousins gives him a pretty good chance to win, especially with this personnel and just a real offensive coach. I'm excited to see a real offensive coach with Kirk, and I think most people should be. So, adios.